Dragon Ball is an anime I watched as part of my ongoing attempt to have never dropped an anime, although I would probably say it's more accurate to say that I never technically dropped this in that I didn't really make a actual effort to watch it in the first place. I just kind of caught a few episodes on TV a few times and then never actually went back to watch the actual show. It adapts the first roughly 1/4, 1/5 of the titular Dragon Ball manga created by the now late Akira Toriyama, with Dragon Ball Z adapting the rest of it. Now, I grew up on Dragon Ball Z, I've seen all of Dragon Ball Z, so I'm very much not new to Dragon Ball as a franchise. In fact, I've already released the reviews on Dragon Ball Super, so I am very familiar with the vast majority of the characters that appear in this show. And I don't necessarily feel like you need a super long synopsis on this, so we're going to make this real quick. It's about a young boy named Goku who has a tail, who meets a genius rich girl who isn't initially portrayed as a genius rich girl, and they kind of don't get into that until about 20, 30 episodes into the show, who is searching for Dragon Balls, which there are 7 of them, and if you gather them together, you can grant any wish. It is later revealed not to be any wish, but in the original Dragon Ball, you can do any wish. Then, after they use it the first time, there is an arc where an army known as the Red Ribbon Army shows up. They also want the Dragon Balls. Then they use the Dragon Balls again to resurrect some people. There's some tournament fights going on there for the martial arts tournaments, which, interestingly enough, in this show, the World Martial Arts Tournament is very much seeming like it's a sort of like starter thing that they're trying to get going, because a lot of the more strong fighters don't really show up, and it seems a sort of transitory phase because a previous world champion kind of doesn't show up until the next tournament. In the initial tournament that they all show up to, he doesn't even like bother showing up to. So it seems like maybe necessarily this is more of a transition period that these tournaments take place into, and it isn't necessarily a startup of the World Martial Arts Tournament, but unquestionably it is revealed that the popularity of the World Martial Arts Tournament is directly caused by the actions of Goku and who I am going to refer to as the other Z fighters get over it. Anyway, at one point, previous enemies end up unsealing the Demon King Piccolo, who tries to take over the world, and then it ends with another martial arts tournament. Really, that is Dragon Ball. It's martial arts tournaments, was trying to find the Dragon Balls, and then very briefly, there is an arc that is not one of those two things. It's honestly sort of repetitive in its presentation, but full credit to Dragon Ball. The first 20, 30 episodes, the first arc of Dragon Ball, which is just an adventure where they're initially trying to find the Dragon Balls for the first time, and you're first getting introduced to the characters that you would come to spend hundreds of episodes with over the course of this and later Dragon Ball Z and later Dragon Ball Super, are the best part of the show. Like, I was enjoying it so much in the first 30 episodes, and then you get into the Red Ribbon Army arc, and it is just so much less interesting. The tournament's good, but I would have liked the fighters that participated in the World Martial Arts Tournament, which takes place before the Red Ribbon Army arc. I just sort of forgot. I would have liked them to be more serious. Like, one of them is just like a girl who defeats her enemies by being sexy, but she kind of can't fight. One of them is just a guy who's stinky. It's not bad. It's probably one of the best tournaments in Dragon Ball. Is like the very first tournament we get to, but it's also not, you sort of loses your interest. It also has that problematic scene where Roshi blows up the moon, which Goku had previously put like 3 dudes on the moon before, so those guys are just fucking gone, and like nobody ever wishes them back. I don't think they wish back the moon, but I don't think they wish back those guys. So the Rabbit Gang's gone forever. They're fucked. Roshi exploded them, and we never see them again. But it leads to a lot of really obnoxious, like, power scaling calculations from really annoying DBZ fans that, like, oh, Roshi blew up the moon in, like, 2 seconds in Dragon Ball, so everyone's got to be stronger than Roshi. So very clearly inconsistent how powerful that Kamehameha is compared to every other action taken throughout all of Dragon Ball. Like, yeah, eventually the characters do get consistently powerful enough to blow up something like a moon, but it happens way too early narratively, and Dragon Ball has a lot of issues like this, not just in the original, but also in Z, and very much in Super, where they say some dumb bullshit that is not consistent with the character's powers and abilities throughout the entire rest of the series. Like, the characters that are, like, blown away by Piccolo detonating a fucking city expect me to believe, like, Piccolo is impressive with his fucking city explosion powers when Roshi fucking Kamehameha'd the moon. It just leads to a lot of obnoxious fanboy behavior. Anyway, that's more of a gripe with the people that watch Dragon Ball than my gripe with actual Dragon Ball. Otherwise, the tournament's totally fine, although I will say that the inconsistency of that specific scene is pretty annoying, especially because they just fix it later off screen at the end of the show where they wish the moon back, only to blow it up again in Z, which I guess is a problem with Z and not Dragon Ball, but like, what the fuck? Whereas like the second tournament with the Ten Shinhan Brain School, that one's a lot less interesting and got way more boring way quicker. But I will say that Tien goes through a very good and well done character arc. Is it way too fucking quickly? Absolutely. Because the second Tien goes for his face turn, he is an aggressive face, and I would have liked to see him struggle with his Crane School teachings a little bit more, because he just immediately goes full on good guy out of kind of nowhere. But the progression to him getting to that point and where he ends from where he started as this like horrible murder man to the end who's like a good guy willing to sacrifice his life against King Piccolo, it's a very good character arc. I was also very impressed with the character of Yamcha, who really gets fucked over in these tournaments, and I get why people think Yamcha sucks, but like really Yamcha just goes up against the worst possible opponent every single fucking tournament, and I always feel super bad for him, especially because what surprised me the most is that Yamcha's introduction was him whipping the shit out of Goku. He like puts him through a fucking boulder. It is crazy, and it is never addressed that Yamcha has a 100% win rate against Goku. Someone should mention this more often, I think. Krillin is also a character that kind of gets fucked over by his tournament placings going up against like Jackie Chun, and did he go up against Kami at one point? Maybe. I think he gets fucked up by Chaozu. Anyway, Krillin just gets fucked over by tournament placements. Not nearly as bad as Yamcha, who it happens to every single fucking time. But yeah, Krillin also isn't super developed in this story. He's kind of just like Goku's sidekick in this. I think I like Krillin a lot more in Z than I do in this. I have to say, standout characters in this are absolutely like Tien and Goku. I'm not the biggest Goku fan, and I definitely wasn't a big Goku fan at the start of this, but I was starting to come on board with Goku towards the end of this. You really get to like know and like a Goku and his character arcs. I think where I fall off with Goku is actually a lot of terrible decisions he makes over the remaining course of the series during Z and Super. It also sort of gives us a little tsundere-esque arc with Piccolo, where at the end when Goku saves him, I should say Piccolo Jr. in this case, because this is original Dragon Ball, with Piccolo Jr., where Goku saves him and then gives him a senzu bean, and he's like, I'm still gonna kill you, and he fucking doesn't. Obviously, we know this, right? It's like, it's actually kind of like interesting how sort of the characters start and develop. I know a big thing that people bring up a lot about Dragon Ball is how the character of Launch just disappears, and that is because the character of Launch is basically narratively pointless. She spends a lot of her early parts just sort of being a housewife, and then they sort of beat to death the joke that she sneezes and then she shoots up the area. And they do a sort of subtle thing with Launch where her sneezed form is slowly more integrated into the narrative. So usually every time she sneezes, she turns into the blonde form, pulls out a machine gun out of nowhere and just shoots at everyone, and everyone goes run for hiding, and that's the whole gag. But when Goku is on Korin's tower and he looks through the spirit water, we see a brief shot of Launch in her blonde form doing like Pilates with the rest of the Turtle Tournament School. And this is the first time we see a well-integrated blonde form Launch. And then over the course of the series, she's still prickly, but she sort of evens herself out and becomes more and more integrated regardless of her form, to the point where, as insane as it was, where she was incapable of getting along with anyone in her blonde form, at the end she almost exclusively stayed blonde as her like primary form. There's also hints in a relationship with Tien and her that sort of come out of nowhere narratively, but it definitely goes nowhere because Launch completely disappears off of Dragon Ball. But she does maybe two notable things the entire time, one of which was like land a plane. So I'm not surprised that Launch disappears and that Toriyama notoriously forgot about her, because she's very easy to forget and she kind of had nothing to do with anything. Dragon Ball also sort of cleared up misconceptions that I sort of had going into later series, which is a big thing that people will always talk about is that Goku is really skilled in hand-to-hand fighting and martial arts. And what I have come to realize upon watching Dragon Ball is that Goku was basically never taught hand-to-hand martial arts at pretty much any fucking point. We know that he was taught hand-to-hand fighting by Grandpa Gohan, which happened when he looks so small I would call him 6, but I think he was like 10 or something when the series actually starts, right? So Goku learned hand-to-hand fighting when he was like less than 10, when he was like literally a preteen, like prepubescent boy. He learned hand-to-hand fighting. And then I always assumed that he learned more hand-to-hand fighting from Master Roshi, but then when he gets to Master Roshi, he's like, I'm not going to teach you hand-to-hand fighting. It's all about body conditioning, baby. And then he gets to Korin, who teaches him how to sense people's breaths and body conditioning, baby. And then he fucking goes on his world journey to lose his tail weakness, and he does some more body conditioning, and then he meets Mr. Popo. And I guess, like, who knows what Mr. Popo teaches him? Maybe Mr. Popo teaches him to throw hands, but we kind of don't really see it. You know what he definitely teaches him, though? Body conditioning, baby. And then we have Kami, who might have taught him to throw hands, but you know what he definitely taught him? Some body conditioning, baby. And then, like, so 90% of what Goku learns is either some ki-based technique or how to get really buff and strong, but no one teaches Goku how to fucking punch. So I'm gonna say it right now, Goku is really bad at fucking punching people, and he solves 90% of his problems by either outthinking them or by just being really strong and fast. Like, every fight in this is him being really strong and fast. Krillin is way more of a cerebral fighter than fucking Goku, and I think has way better hands. I'm gonna say it, Goku's hands, severely overrated. Goku ain't got hands. I'm just straight up dropping it. He's just got really high physical stats. Other thing I kind of want to bring up is I had, of course, seen the scene where Chi-Chi confronts Goku in the final tournament about promising to marry her. And having rewatched this, I don't think Goku ever promises to marry Chi-Chi. Like, Ox King is like, if you save my daughter, you can marry her. And Goku is like, what the fuck is marriage? Like, I do not recall at any point Goku verbally agreeing to marry Chi-Chi. Like, maybe Ox King brought it up to her, and Goku might have, according to Goku, he said something to the effect of, maybe I'm interested in marriage, but like, Goku never agrees to marry Chi-Chi. And I find it interesting rewatching Dragon Ball that this fucking boy, essentially, this child gets gaslit into marrying this woman that he has had, I am not fucking with you, 3 interactions with. Where Dragon Ball actually kind of misses me is it was sort of like very quippy, and there was like some puns and there was some humor, very well integrated into the beginning part of the story, which I easily consider to be the best. But towards the end, you can see how the narrative and the characters are, I can only describe it as devolving into what they would eventually be with the too heavily action-focused storylines in Z, to the point where the characters' personalities are slowly draining out of them. Like, realistically, 90%, okay, 80% of King Piccolo's dialogue is him fucking giggling. Like, early part of the fights would be like the characters thinking, or they'd be bantering, or there'd be some screaming, there'd be something going on. Every time you see King Piccolo, he's like, yeah, and that's everyone. That's fucking everyone. That's every single character towards the end. It's just like a giggling and grunts and efforts. It's like boring narratively. It just becomes like a bunch of like beam struggles. The cerebral elements to the fights go. Like, it actually gets way worse as it goes on. And Dragon Ball adapts like the first fifth of the original manga, which eventually becomes Dragon Ball Z. And as the series went on, about midway through, I would say, is where Dragon Ball like fully adapts itself into what Dragon Ball Z would eventually become toward the end of the fight with Tien. Actually, directly after the original fight with Tien in the tournament, that is the moment where Dragon Ball really does give way to the Dragon Ball Z story, sort of like fight scenes and dialogue, and that is the point where it just becomes, honestly, almost not even worth watching. Like, Dragon Ball is worth watching from a historical, like, respect aspect of how influential the series is, but it is such a dramatic dip in quality. And it's not like sharp, it's Dragon Ball slowly gets worse as it goes on until it eventually gets to the levels that it eventually reaches in Dragon Ball Z, where it is just the awkwardest, stupidest punching and then beam lasers the whole time. So It is an enjoyable show, and I will never regret having watched this. I really did like learning about the characters in their younger years. It sort of feels like a prequel to me, even though it came out first. As someone who grew up on Dragon Ball and still honestly regularly thinks about Dragon Ball as like a whole franchise, but it has definitely not aged the best, and you can almost feel the moment where Toriyama notoriously gave the fuck up on this. So yeah, it's a good experience, and I think if you're serious about being an anime fan, you should absolutely watch Dragon Ball once, especially if you are a Dragon Ball Z fan in any regard. You have basically a responsibility to eventually get around to watching Dragon Ball. But like I would argue with Dragon Ball Z, it's sort of not very good. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic. Your Envoy of Hope. Bye-bye.